Good evening, everyone. Warm regards to everyone present here. I, Srirang, welcome you all to one of the most prestigious events under MindSpark, the Keynote Lecture series. MindSpark'21 edition, the flagship technical festival of COEP, and has grown to become one of the most coveted events in the country. After a successful virtual 14th edition, we are here with the next edition, which is being conducted in a hybrid manner. We are honored to have Vinita Paunikar ma'am as a keynote speaker. Vinita Paunikar ma'am is a highly influential and inspiring personality. After completing her graduation in electrical engineering from VNIT Nagpur as a gold medalist, she worked for Cybex California as a staff engineer and then went on to work with multiple companies like Microsoft and VMware. In 2005, she was appointed as the Vice President of Oracle Group. Last year, she was as the ambassador for Oracle Group of Startup. Ma'am has been instrumental in the rise of Oracle Enterprise Management. She has helped Oracle in its rapid growth from $300 million to $1.6 billion. Her expertise are majorly in the fields of product architecture, product development, product management. In her 26 years long career, she has won numerous laureates at the highest level. In 2016, she was ranked 14th in the Business Insider Top 26 Most Powerful Women Engineers. In 2018, she was invited by United Nations Development Program to speak on the topic Big Data Analytics for Gender Equality at Workplace. I now request Mrs. Vinita Paunikar ma'am to take the stage and share her thoughts. Ma'am?
Yeah, thanks, Shirang. Can you guys confirm you can hear me and see my screen?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Is visible and you are completely audible.
Thank you so much, Purva, and thank you so much, Shrirang, for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to talk to students of Pune Engineering College. I know I heard a lot about Pune Engineering College. You know, I remember when I was growing up in India, a good friend of mine was actually studying in Pune Engineering College. This is back in 1980s, you know, or early 90s. And today it's my honor to be speaking to you guys on this platform. And thank you so much for that. So actually, before joining Cybers, I did work for a couple of companies back in India, and I'll talk more about it. And I always like to speak in conferences, especially students' conferences, where there are a lot of exciting things happens in terms of technology and hackathons and whatnot. It's like all these engineering minds come together and do fun stuff, and it's good to be opening such events. And I was actually privileged last year to open a similar conference called Access in VNIT as a keynote speaker, and also a couple of years back in fact UC Berkeley, when they had a similar conference and they had invited me to speak, being an engineer. So it's a good recognition for me as an engineer to be invited to a conference which is all about technology. And also it's fun to talk to young people like you know, it's like I'm going back 30 years back and reliving my college life, you know, that's how I feel. So let's get started. Purva gave me kind of open platform to speak on whatever I want. And I was thinking what I should speak on. And I decided I will speak about engineering careers, you know, with my personal stories, because I know some of you are probably in first year, second year, and some of you are probably in final years. And you're thinking what's next step in your life, you know, once you are done with your college. And I would share my own experience in selecting my career and stepping through different companies and what helped, what didn't. And maybe I'm hoping that you will find my experience helpful when you make decisions about what you should do in college and what you should choose once you come out of the college. So while you are in campus, I know some of you have 4 more years to go, some of you have 3, some of you have 2, and some of you are like, oh my gosh, this is getting over, you know, last year and few months you're going to be out. But one thing which I would say while you're on the campus, make best use of that campus, you know, because these are going to be best 4 years of your life and you want to get everything out of it. I remember my daughter actually went to Carnegie Mellon University, and I remember when my husband and Vivek and we went to drop off my daughter Vrishali, and we attended her open house. And in the open house, her dean was telling that, um, I know you guys are paying a lot of huge fees, like, American education is really expensive, especially undergrad studies. And he's like, I know you guys are paying a lot of money for this education, but let me tell you, only 50% of the learning actually happens in the classroom, and rest of the 50% happens outside the classroom. And it did struck me that, yeah, that is so true, because I did take a lot of learnings from my college days, which actually did not happen in the classroom, but outside of classroom. And it is very important for people to remember, other than classroom, there are so many opportunities in college, especially today with technology and social network and all, opportunities are in fact growing, what you can do outside of classroom. And he said, I want all my students to be aware of that, and use all the opportunities to take this learning when you go to your professional life. And I just wanted to emphasize what her dean said that day, that being in college, I mean, classroom, you will run, most of the engineering students are pretty like sincere or serious about their career, and they would make sure all the classes are attended, and you give whatever percent of attendance is needed and whatnot. That's all natural. But I would suggest, be part of all these clubs and conferences, hackathons, projects, robotics projects and whatnot. There's so many things happen on the campus. There are a lot of clubs, like, for example, here in US, they have like French club, debate club and whatnot, and robotics clubs. And there is a lot of learning happens in as part of this other events or other opportunities, because not only you you learn out of this, but you also learn how to work as a team, because everybody is not same and people are going to have their own opinions. There's going to be politics and whatnot. This is all part of life, and you're going to learn to deal with it, and understand how to deal with it, and grow with it, right? Not only that, you will also learn how to do a teamwork, because you will figure out, different people are good in different things. So how to kind of help each other, and how to use everybody's strengths to finally come up with something which is great. And the focus on the outcome, all that would happen out of this experience. So um, take benefit of that. The other thing which I found interesting and important is networking. So not only just like all these other things which we know from a business or career point of view are important, but I think what is important is college life is also network with people, because these are the relations you're going to carry for lifetime. Trust me, when you spend those 4 years, first of all, you're in right age in those 4 years. So the friendships you're going to make, the the relationship you're going to make in those 4 years, you're going to carry lifetime, and you're going to help each other in your professional career. And I am carrying those relationships. I'm still carrying those friends, even today after so many years coming out of college, from VNIT. And I would suggest you guys don't shy away from social events, cultural events. That's where the real bonding happens, and you really care for each other. And one of you is going to be a CEO of some big company, and someone is going to be a CFO somewhere, and someone is going to be a product boss somewhere and whatnot. And you're going to help each other. You're going to help each other's companies. And uh, I have seen the people who actually grew together for those years. They help each other the most, because at that point, 30 years forward, of 25 years forward, it's not about competition with each other, but it's like seeing each other and really enjoying how your other classmates are doing well, and they really help each other. So this networking part, just do focus on that. It's really, really important. And the third thing I would mention is community work. It's very important, because when I was graduating, there wasn't that much focus on community work because technology wasn't there to reach out to people or take on these projects, which you could take on to help community. But these days I have seen there are a lot of opportunities for doing community work. I've seen in fact in India there are these clubs like Rotary clubs and whatnot, and you could be part of that and learn giving back to community. And I would talk a little bit more about it, how it is really, really important to finally feel good about what you are and what you're doing. And um, those habits or that learning happens right at the early age. And this is the good time to also find out what I can give back to community, what work I should do, uh, and how what is the community problem which I'm going to solve uh, to to give back to community, because there are a lot of problems out there to solve. Like, for example, I remember one of the younger colleague from VNIT started a company called Donate Card, and it helps basically people to donate. It's a platform to donate. So it's not only in his business; he also made sure that he's trying to solve a problem. So or helping. Like, for example, I do. Currently I didn't do a whole lot, I would say, in college days, but today I work with the American Heart Association. I help in fundraising, and it gives me tremendous happiness, more than what I do as an engineer, when I see um, it helps saving someone's life. It's important. Also, the other thing I would say, having in doing something in sports is very important, because uh, especially for engineers, I think it's very important. And I did that when I was in engineering school. I did like play badminton. I used to participate in this, you know um, different sports, like cycling and whatnot. And I really had fun. I think that was my way of taking a break from the engineering work, and it was very helpful for me. And later on also I continued um, doing something in the sports, even like watching the games, learning American football or basketball. It's because getting into sports, understanding sports, and keeping up with sports is another very important aspect of being accepted in community, especially in US. I have seen that, you need to know who are um, you know, the local teams and how their standing is, especially here basketball and baseball and football are very popular games. And if you don't know the teams and what they do and how they're performing, it's very difficult for you to fit in. So having that interest in sports, and which I don't have to tell for guys, but definitely for girls, it's very important. I remember when I was in Sybase, I had newly like come from India, and my boss Jan Guy, he's like we had gone out for lunch, and everybody was discussing about previous day's baseball game and how the team did. And I was actively participating, and I had my own opinion about how the game went. And my boss suddenly said, You really amaze me. Coming from India, being a woman, I never saw someone to be so aware of American sports, So he was very surprised that I was totally caught up into the latest games happening in US. So it's important, keeping up with sports is very important for social networking. And these are the things which no one will teach you probably in any of your classes, but I thought it was very important. So once you graduate, what are your options? And I went through this, and so did my daughter, and I'll tell you my own story. And these are the options. When you graduate, either you can go for masters, whether it's technical masters, or some people go for MBA, or you would go and work for someone. If you're working for someone, again, there are two choices. Either you can go for a startup, or you can go for a well-known big company, or some of you may start your own company, depending on how business savvy you are. or some of you may decide to just retire after college, and hopefully none of you are going to follow the last option. So I won't talk too much about the last option, but um, again, what you want to do is really up to you, and I wouldn't say any of the choices are good or bad, but I can share with you, what I did and what my daughter landed up doing. So basically, when I graduated from VNIT, I mean, probably you guys may or may not know, I was actually the first woman engineer, or girl engineer those days, who topped VNIT in electrical engineering branch. So far in history of VNIT, no girl had topped electrical branch. So Garud was the dean at that time, and he called my father and he offered that I could go to IIT and do my master's, and VNIT basically would pay for my education. And he said the only condition is Vinita should come back and teach in VNIT. But I knew for sure that I did not want to go in teaching. I wanted to go in and work in the industry. And I don't know what influenced that decision, but I really wanted to go out. I really wanted to go beyond Nagpur and see the world. So for me, the decision was clear. I already had a job in hand in Ratan Tata's company Nelco those days, through campus interviews. So I knew what I wanted to do. So I actually um, kind of declined over going for masters, and I decided to work for this company called Nelco. That was Ratan Tata's company. And I remember my first day in Nelco, and because I was a gold medalist, they gave me choices to join any of their department. And I remember the one girl who was senior to me and was from IIT Mumbai. She was also an engineer. She took me around and basically she showed me all the various departments, like their R&D department, the production they used to call it, where manufacturing used to happen and whatnot. So she showed me around, and finally, when I came to HR guy, and he said, "Okay, decide what you want to do." And I said, "Okay, I want to work in production." And he was very, very surprised. He's like, "How come you don't want to work in R&D? Because you are a gold medalist of VNIT. So how come you don't want to work in R&D?" I'm like, "I don't know. I want to just have hands-on experience, and I want to like have that." Life, which I saw in production, a lot of people working and machinery and whatnot. I'm like, I just want very lively environment, not me sitting with my setup and doing some research and all that. Those time software companies were not very popular when I graduated. It was mainly in hardware, and I said, I just want to like have a very lively environment where I can socialize with people and I can still do, it's good engineering work. And he was surprised with my choice, but that's what I wanted to do. I'm not sure if I understood everything what that meant, but that's what I wanted, and I didn't have a lot of mentorship also, and that's how I landed with my first job in manufacturing of personal computers. But I never looked back. I really enjoyed, and I actually never never thought that was a wrong decision. But that's what my career was. Fast forward, so when my daughter, and whose picture is here on the screen, she graduated from Carnegie Mellon University, and immediately after graduation, she actually went to Tepper Business School, but she focused on her major on computer information technology and finance, and she was also wondering what to do. Um, so by the time she graduated, she already had 4 jobs in hand. In fact, she stopped interviewing at some point because she's like already have 4 offers. So unless I get a fifth offer, which is better than one of these 4 offers, I would try. Otherwise, this is it. Now she had 2 options. Either she could go for master. So she did actually give her um, GMAT, and she had really good scores actually in GMAT, and she could have applied to any of the business school. top school in US. And she also had these 4 offers in hand. Now, for her, she had option of joining a big company. Like she had offers from JP Morgan. In fact, JP Morgan offer she got 1 year in advance, and then she had offer with Procter and Gamble. And then she had 2 offers which were from very small startup companies, and one of them was Applied Predictive Technologies. It's a very small company started by some of the ex-Harvard guys. And when she looked at their profile, she said, Mom, I don't want to join a big company because I'm going to be a very small part of a big ocean. So she decided to take this offer in a startup called APT. And she said, if I want to do a MBA, I would probably do it after a few years. And I kind of agreed with her choice, because if you look at my own career, I joined in Nelco um, as my first company, but I didn't last there for a long time because it still was a very big company. And I don't think that was the best option. But in 2 years, I joined a company called Zenith Computers, which was much smaller. Um, there were like, I don't know, maybe were only 300 people when I joined that company. And I flourished a lot in that company. I'll talk a little bit more about it. But I wouldn't say that joining big company is bad per se, because today if you go get a job in Google, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of opportunities, or Microsoft, or even Oracle for that matter. But as a first job, I have seen how Rushali has grown, and how much exposure she got to various aspects of business in a startup was much more rewarding than if you would have joined a big company. And same happened to me 25 years back. When I joined a small company like Zenith, I got a lot of exposure, a lot of learning in all different aspects of business being in a small company. So I'm not saying that you would not get same thing in big company, but you are more likely to get all round exposure in a smaller company. Now, if it comes to higher education, even though I did go for masters, and so did Vrishali, finally not landed up going for master because she was doing so well in workplace. But I talked to some of the people who did their masters in Harvard and other famous business schools, and they happen to be my friends. And what I would suggest as an engineer, if you want to go for master right away, you should probably go for technical masters, and don't go for business right away. Again, I would suggest that only for engineers. It may be a different thing if I was talking to someone who wants to pursue only like business, but this is for engineers. I would say either you hold your MBA for few more years and take industry experience, or if you want to go for masters, then go for technical masters, because I think it's, at least in my opinion, again, I'm just sharing my experience. I'm pretty sure some different people have different experience, but it's very hard to establish yourself as a young engineer, um, and trying to like get into complete business. I think it's very effective if you spend your initial years of your career doing technical work and being technical, being technology, being hands-on, and try to do things on your own, and then get into management positions or get your MBA degree and whatnot. So that technical touch really makes you very, very successful, because when you have a bunch of people who are reporting to you, you want to talk their language. You want to understand what they're talking, and you want to, if you don't understand what they're talking, they won't respect you at some point, and you will understand what they're talking only if you went through it firsthand yourself, which really helped me. So these are the choices, and again, this is what it was my personal experience and my personal choices, but you it's just some guidance for you, and you can finally decide what you want to do. The next thing I want to talk about is early years of your career. When I was in Elco, I met a lot of IITians, in fact, those days. And in just a couple of years, I joined Zenith Computers. And this is the place I do want to mention, because, and I'm very, very thankful to Zenith because this is the place which I really grew. I grew as a engineer, I grew as a manager, and thanks so much to Raj Saraf, who is the CEO, and those days he was the owner and CEO of this company. And because this was a small company, I got opportunity to work with the CEO very, very closely. And I didn't do one thing in this company, and that's why it was interesting because not only I did engineering, I did I actually, so the first picture you see on the top, that's where I was certified novel instructor. So it was very different than doing hardware engineering, but Rasarab did allow me to kind of try that out. So I was certified to teach 5 courses of novel operating system. Again, there were some exams and all, and novel guys from US had come to Zenith, and Zenith was authorized dealer for novel operating system. And we were teaching novel operating system in India, and I was one of the authorized dealer. That's the class I'm taking, but it was very different from the hardware because I was doing hardware as well as all these other things. On the right hand side, if you see, Raj Saraf did allow me to go to various countries, and those were my visit to Singapore and Taiwan to select products for Zenith. In that young age, I would go with the R&D manager and help select the products for the company. The third picture down below, and because I was going to talk to you guys, I pulled out some of these old pictures from my collection, and it was fun to look at this picture. So this is the place where we were selling actually in international market, and this was one of the exhibition. I think this was in Singapore, and I was actually presenting Zenith product, on the booth again, gave me some marketing experience, some sales experience, on the right hand side, because I was handling the production environment for personal computers, Raj Saraf did allow me to go to Taiwan and look at how manufacturing works in Taiwan and bring some learnings from there and implement those, and this exposure really, really helped me. So bottom line, what I'm trying to say is in your young career, don't focus on only on one thing. Try to explore as many things as possible your company can provide, because you don't know what you will be interested in. You may start your career as one, but you may figure out, because it's very difficult to figure out when you're like 20, 21 years old exactly what is going to interest you, unless you actually go and try it out. And I tried different thing, and thanks to that small company, again, I'm not sure if I could have done that in Nelco, but because Zenith was a small company, I knew this. I mean, I could work with CEO directly because it was only 300 people, and from his side also, he could spot the talents within his organization and gave them opportunity. He gave me a lot of opportunities. That's where I I not only I was allowed to be original and come up with my own ideas based on my learnings and my own experience, as well as I got a lot of good people. And I do want to mention about one of the R&D manager, KB Ramchandran. He's actually no more, fortunately, but I learned a lot. He was from IIT Delhi, and one of the things, for example, the way he used to handle, um, you know, decision making. He was so fast. Whether it's technical decisions, he will get people together, paperwork, whatever. He used to like fast, like just act on things and not like just leave it on his table to be looked at later on. I was amazed with that, and I started copying how he would do decisions right away, right then, immediately. I used to watch him. So it's like copying is not sometimes bad. Copying is good because you would see some people who are much better than you, and it's good to copy them and learn from them, as well as be original and come up with your own ideas. Both the combination is good, and don't hesitate. Um, and the last thing I want to mention, especially, and this is the most important thing in early part of career, which really helped me, is working hard. And I worked really hard. Like especially, I remember in Nelco first job, and we used to work on microcomputer, and I used to study the circuit diagrams of personal computers so much in detail that I had like almost pin numbers of this ICs or integrated circuits memorized, because I used to go into detail. I used to sit down with the big circuit diagrams and I used to traverse through each and every signal and learn about every chip on the computer, So I did a lot of work, and then that it became a habit working hard, Even today, I don't take my job easy, I really work hard, like you can see I collected all these pictures from my past, even though this was a casual presentation to you guys, I did work on it after Purva reached me. I'm like, what do I want to say? And I hunted through these pictures from my albums, It just, it comes naturally to me to take it seriously. Whatever I do, I take it seriously, And if you develop that habit early days, it's going to go a long way, because you would see every phase of your life, the competition is stiff and you need to go one step beyond to prove yourself or to be successful. Growing in management role is very important, and I'll tell you one personal story which is my favorite, and I have mentioned about this story in other places also, when I talk to people. This is again in Zenith Computers. All these pictures are from Zenith Computers, and this is my story when I was working with the CEO Raj Saraf. I remember once I went to him and telling him about the problem we had on production line and said, Mr. Saraf, this is the problem, we have got the kits, but there's some part missing and whatnot, and he didn't even look at me, in fact, and he said, okay, fine, this is the problem, but what's the solution, Vinita? And that is for the first time i I realized that I'm not growing and I can't tell just the problems, in workplace. I need to figure out the solutions of the problems, He's not the manager. I'm the manager. I'm running the business, And he really, I mean, that remembering this incident even after so many years, because I took it by heart. And from there onward, I'm like, every problem I face at workplace, I have to imagine that I'm the boss and I'm going to find the solution for the problem. That really helped me to develop myself as a leader, because I rarely, from that point onwards, I rarely had to go to my bosses to ask for answers, because I knew what they were going to tell me, and I just started taking decisions. And my decision making really helped me grow faster, because people saw that I can make a decision, And as you become a manager, and I have seen a lot of engineers have problems becoming a manager. I've seen some of the engineers really, really struggling becoming a manager. And again, thanks to Zenith giving me that platform to become a manager, because I learned a lot, and it that learning applied to any country. I'm telling you, that learning actually applied in US also, when I started handling bigger teams here, coming from different environment, but I still could fit in because of the learnings I made there in Zenith, And first picture there you can see is my team. Actually, that was my team. I was a very young manager. I was probably only 25 years old. I was already leading a team of at least like 70, 80 people those days. And most of those are like my engineer, except for one in Sari. She was actually working, was a technician working on the production line. But I was leading a team of engineers and a lot of technicians who would work on the production line. So it was a team of like 70, 80 or 100 people those days. But one of the things I did with my people is really trusting them, to solve the problem. And one of the engineer, actually, you can see, the person in the back with the turbine, his name is Bedi. Today, he's working for Facebook, but this guy here in US, but he actually came to United States even before me, and he was working various companies, but we landed working together in Microsoft in Seattle. We were together, and Vaidi later on actually joined Amazon, and right now he's working with Facebook, and we are still in touch. And he was one of my engineer right there, so many years back, and I really trusted them, And when I came to this country, Bedi and I today also we are very good friends, I let them do. I empowered them. I let them solve the problem. I didn't interfere, even though I was pretty young engineer myself, but what I would do is I would have my own projects and I would give them their projects, and we were kind of friends and collaborating, and I never was boss in a way, but I was still leading the team. Um, the other thing is bonding with them. And if you see that picture on the right hand side, again, socialization. It's very important, because that's where you build a relationship. We show what you care. You ask them about their personal life and you care for their personal life, and even many of them are my like Facebook friends, LinkedIn friends today, it's because we also actually spend good time together in social events, picnics and whatnot, and the last thing is recognizing them. And I just, this was my favorite picture down below, where I used to make it a point, especially for the workers working on assembly line, to give some small gifts and recognize their work. And I'm telling you, that made such an amazing impact that they would work hard. Sometimes in production line, we needed people to come over the weekend and work because we had deliveries, and they would come because of this small recognition. And today I carry that even today in Oracle, we have a mechanism to give something called spot awards. So in spite of the fact that people get options and raises and whatnot, we are allowed to give a spot award of like 100, not big amount, $150, to anyone in the organization, right? I a lot of people don't even make use of that, but I make sure that I make use of that. I tell my directs, I want from every team at least 3 to 4 spot awards to come every quarter. And we have seen giving those $150, that $150 amount is not a big deal, especially for someone who is in US. It's not a big amount, but the fact that along with that recognition, not only their own manager sends a nice note for them, but I always make sure from my level, I reply to that email and I recognize that person with some good words for him. Oh my gosh, that has come such long. People prefer that and people appreciate that more than maybe a $10,000 raise they get. They still like that $150 spot award because that comes with good words and appreciation from their management change, which is very important for them. So I have learned young age how appreciating people is so much important because they will die to work for you. And again, they make you a successful leader. It's not about you at that point. It's about how hard they work, what they produce, what they can give. Because if you are a team of 100 people and you are 101 person, it's not you what you do. You just give them leadership, you give them help when they want it. It is those 100 people who are going to make the business happen. It is very important to understand. And a lot of engineers, the problem they have, and I've seen them struggling, is to give give to other people, give control to other people. They cannot give control because they think they're very smart engineers, and they see that other people have maybe crappy design, crappy code. So they want to interfere and they tell them what to do. But let them make mistakes, let them learn, because it's not, and we are not doctors that, oh, maybe if I don't pay attention, maybe the patient will die or whatever. It's not that, So, hey, at the most, that code won't perform. It's not a big deal. Someone is not dying, but let them make mistakes and learn. That's how they're going to grow. They're going to appreciate you, and they're successful. You're super successful. So that's. I mean, maybe you guys are 5 years ahead of away from that, but this becomes very important. Change is good. Change is good. And sometimes you get lazy changing. It's because you are you're getting good money, or you're emotionally attached to company or whatever. But I think you should change if you think you're not enjoying what you're doing. That's an easy decision. You're not enjoying, change it. The other thing, you're not learning. You're not learning. It's the same thing you're doing over and over every day. You don't think you're like now old enough to change because you're 10 years in the job. You're not learning, change. Or you want to go beyond what you can achieve in that company, go. You want to do something totally different, go. Let money or emotions not hold you back. I told you a lot of my success in Zenith. Back in India, I was working for Zenith. A lot of success. I was enjoying, I was very highly respected by Raj Saraf, by my colleagues, by people who were reporting to me. Everything was fine in life. Why did I feel like changing? It's because I thought, that to me, my learning was not going beyond what I wanted. There was not much to learn. And that's when I decided I need to go in software. See, look at this, you have to keep your mind open, even though being a young engineer coming out of VNIT in Nelco, I decided I want to work in hardware. Here I go after 10 years, I thought there is a limitation in India what you can do in hardware, at least those days. I wanted to do something in software, because I saw there are more opportunities. You can, there are so many. Software is so vast, and you guys know with the now cloud and artificial intelligence and whatnot. There's so much. It's still developing. And by the way, I'm actually focusing more on IT side because I happen to be in IT. But a lot of these learnings do apply to whether you're a mechanical engineer or you're architect or whatever. But anyway, so I decided I'm going to move, and I got a job in Siemens Information Systems Limited, which was a company in Mumbai, with tie-up with Siemens Next Stop in Germany. So I decided to leave and join Siemens. I remember Rasaraf was not very happy about me leaving, and he's like, "Don't resign. Go to Siemens, try it out." I didn't even resign. He wouldn't even take my resignation, And I joined Siemens, and that's my picture on the top is group in Munich. Actually, I was in Munich. That's a group. My first project, which I was working with a set of really, really highly skilled people, and that was a big shift for me, going from hardware to software. And again, my habit of doing hard work really helped. I worked really hard again those days, moving from hardware to software. In the hindsight today, it really helps me having first 10 years in hardware, then in software, because I'm all rounder now. But initially, it was hard. I worked in Siemens for not too long though, because I really wanted to come to US because I thought the more software opportunities are in US. And my first company, I left Siemens, I think in 1.5 years, and I joined Sybase. And again, amazing company. I stayed with Sybase for 6, 7 years and did a lot of learning. And I talked a little bit more about my Sybase experience, but uh, I didn't look back. The emotions didn't hold me back, And finally, I sent my resignation to Zenith after coming to US. So as I did my journey, I do want to talk about Sybase, because coming to US from a very Indian environment wasn't easy. There was a lot of cultural differences. Technically, I wasn't worried about my own capability because I was pretty confident, and very ambitious, in doing things. But the other important part of coming from India to US is fitting into that culture, and especially when you're coming by taking a job and not for your higher studies. Because if you come for higher study, it's much easier because you get 2 years, to be in this environment. You make some local friends. You understand their American English. You understand their culture and gestures and whatnot. I didn't know any of this thing. I had not visited US before. This is like a completely new land for me. Even though I went to other countries because of the opportunities I got through Zenith and also Siemens, but this was my first first time to come, and I really want to acknowledge my first boss, Jan Guy in Sybase. It's not only he helped me, of course, technically, and that was not such a big deal for me because I was again very hardworking and very focused, but culturally fitting. So he would actually pinpoint my pronunciations sometimes, or the phrases we use. Like, for example, we say, oh, I passed out from Pune Engineering College. You don't say passed out, here in US. Passed out means you died, it's like you passed out. They say you graduated from Pune Engineering College, not passed out. So these are like simple things, and you don't realize coming to this country. But Jan really helped me with, in fitting culturally, and then that's why that sports knowledge was very handy, and my passion for sports was handy here in fitting into this culture, and it really helped me having a manager like Jan Guy to help me out, that part of that aspect of fitting into the culture. When I went to Microsoft, Microsoft is I would say one of the best company I worked for, in terms of technology, and with Satya Nadella's leadership, I'm sure it's even better than when. In fact, Satya Nadella was working for Microsoft when I was there. I remember being in meetings with him. He probably doesn't remember, but I remember when I was working in a team called SQL Server, and I was handling their products called XML Parser, and that product was used by pretty much all the other products in Microsoft. So I got opportunity to present to office guys and studio guys, and that those are the teams he was leading those days, and SQL Server and all this other teams, and also operating system NT. So got a good lot of exposure. What I really liked and what I really learned in Microsoft is working with the smartest possible people in this industry, and it means you got to be on top of things, if you're talking to those people, because you can. I remember, one time. Sorry, this is my dog barking. Um, I remember presenting to one of the top architect guy in Microsoft, and I went to him discussing one of the issue which was reported in security, and when I was talking to him, he started going so much into details, and I'm like, oh, I just came to inform you, and that was not acceptable. I needed to do my entire homework and understand the entire problem, what impact it's going to have, what are the possibilities we have, how much cost it will take to fix the problem, and all that. He needed to know all the details. So one thing I learned, these are really, really smart people, and you cannot go and talk to these people without you doing your homework. And even the QA engineer in Microsoft would be so super smart. I remember when I was working on a product called SOAP Toolkit, the QA engineer, and I was a program manager. So QA engineer of that product was actually on the W3C committee representing Microsoft. So he was a super smart guy. Unexpected to me. So I learned a lot to be, you know, uh, to be at that level when we are talking to people, because the whole floor was filled with a lot of smart people in their headquarters. Um, and my last stop, I wouldn't say last stop, maybe I might join another company, but at least I'm not thinking about it. But next I joined Oracle a long time back, 16 years back, and I've grown. I joined as a senior manager in Oracle and have grown to director, senior director, and VP. And what I really loved about Oracle, and I'm very, very thankful to Oracle, is they let me define my job. I mean, my first manager, and I do want to recognize her or appreciate her. Her name is, she's not working for Oracle anymore, but Carol Sexton. When I joined Oracle, she completely gave me free hand, and she's like, this is what you are doing, but exactly what you want to do as a program manager, you decide, what you want to do, how you want to do, and I will give you full freedom. And I really defined my job. I brought all my learnings from Microsoft and Sybase, and I defined what I want to do and how I want to do. And it's nothing like when you can define your own role. And that's what Oracle gave me. And every time I did a good job, they gave me, more work to do, because I'm not the person who will be happy in doing one thing, So I started as a program manager, but then my like first management chain, they saw some spark in me, and I said I wanted to do infrastructure engineering. They gave me that team. I grew more, and then I wanted to do support engineering. They gave me that. I wanted to do sustaining engineering. So I never left my first team, but I've been adding teams and I've been leading more and more and more. And I'm doing the way I want. It's like you cannot have a better company to work for than this place. And I'm not saying that there are not better companies than Oracle, but decide what is best for you. And this company happened to be really great for me. And that's why this is the highest time I ever stayed in one company. It's because I'm doing multiple things. Again, I won't be happy if I'm doing only one thing, because I cannot keep doing one thing. And they allowed me to do whatever I want to do. Even today, they gave me free hand, and it's amazing. It's amazing. Also, the recognition I got from Business Insider, again, thanks to Oracle, for even recognizing and picking me as one of the best engineer, even though there are like 130,000 employees, this organization, and they picked me as their top engineer. But most humbling experience for me when I was recognized is um, this news which came in the Nagpur newsletter. It was amazing to see me getting recognized in my city of birth. And to me that was bigger recognition than even getting recognized here in US. It's finally you want your mom and dad to appreciate you. It was similar to me. It was amazing. So this was little up to now it's my professional life, and I'm very happy with that. But as I was growing professionally, I think it's very important to give back to community, and I'm very thankful to United Nations. They somehow found me and reached out to me to help their so this UNDP stand for United Nations Development Program. So one of the development program they have is gender equality, and they found me. They reached out to me. This was uh, a conference in Chile in 2018, and they wanted me to talk about how we can use technology to bring gender equality, especially big data analytics. And there was another panel I was in, is growing as a woman in technology, you know, what are the things women should do to grow up, especially in the management positions and executive positions. So those two panels I did, but basically they gave me a platform to promote women in technology and to promote women in workplace and help these projects. And I have been doing a lot of mentoring, not only within Oracle but outside Oracle. I talked to many companies, even like Google X. They had invited me to speak to women in their company here in Maharashtra Mandal and whatnot. Various places I've been talking to women and encouraging them to stay in STEM, to make management career, grow up in executive positions. But UNDP really gave me that platform. And as recent as last year, in fact, when the pandemic happened, they wanted to again invited me again to speak on this forum. It was a virtual conference, international virtual conference, to again speak about what the issues are, especially in private sector, and how women can handle these issues and stay in workspace. So I think it's very important to keep giving back to community, because finally we are not raised by the fees our parents could pay, or the talents we have, but also we are raised by a lot of community around us. Always remember, and it is important for us to keep giving back to the community, because they are going to help people like us to grow and learn and eventually help back to community again. So I want all of you to always think about, and it doesn't need to be in money, your time or whatever. I've been, like I mentioned about American Heart Association, I used to do fundraising for them, because our basically president. He was a big promoter of American Heart Association. So he had asked me whether I can be one of the champions, and I said yes. And I worked for 4 or 5 years, promoting promoting American Heart Association, doing fundraising for them. Now that person is Thomas Kurian. He's actually working for Google. So that slowed down. But when he was there, I worked as long as he was there. Um, I also worked for organization, non-profit organization called TIE, the um, the Indus Entrepreneur. They always hold every year. They hold a conference called TICON. It is again for young entrepreneurs, and I actually help them as a volunteer, which I've been doing for last 13, 14 years now. So I do this voluntary work, and I think it's important for each one of you to do something to give back to community. And this is my last slide. And I do want to mention it is very important to give back to your college, alma mater. And I visited VNIT after coming to US. I came to US like 27 years back, and God knows how many times. But every time I made an India trip, I did make it a point to go to Nagpur and visit this campus. It feels so different. I feel young. I feel energized. I feel happy when I go to this campus. And every time there was an opportunity to give back to my college, I did contribute. I did. So if you look, this whole new look of the entrance of NIT campus, which is very nicely done with the Vishweshwaraya statues and the fountains around it, where the first picture is taken in the background. This is all sponsored by my batch, which is 1983 batch. And when I visited, was my visit in 1920. So last year, February. These pictures are taken just last year, when I visited there in February. And that's our dean of college was giving me a little token of award for my contribution uh, to VNIT. Uh, but the important thing is all those other people. Now this is the power of networking. They are all my batchmates. They all came to meet me, when I visited. And this is amazing to see a bunch of people, your 19, our batch, all batchmates. They still come and visit and support each other. And that's amazing feeling. And the, the happiness you get when, meeting your people, fast forward 30 years later in the life, it's so amazing. So do that, build that network today, because 30 years down the line you all are going to meet at campus, and that joy is so much more. And seeing your institution grow is amazing. So last year in the COVID situation, Nagpur was also hit pretty badly, and so is so many cities in India. And again, my institution started a fundraiser, and I did like liberally donated again, for that effort. And they did like, oxygen cylinders and helping with food and whatnot. And even though I couldn't be there physically, I wish I was there physically to help out, but hey, you can do whatever you can. If you're there physically, you help physically, but I'm not there. So what we could do is support them through financial means. And that's what we did. And I'm so amazed to see how they utilize that money to help so many people. Again, it's all giving back, and especially to your college is so much important. Because first time when I donated, I remember it was in memory of my dad, who had passed away, and I donated first. And they actually started a scholarship in his name to give it to a needy student. And that was good feeling. And it started then, and then I contributed to get this campus renovated. And then now is last year for COVID-19 situation. Again, every time we do that, you will feel better. You will feel good about it. You will feel good about the money you're making. And finally, all this money, we don't take it back when we go out. So leave it for the people who really need it. And what is today? For me today, it's not getting another title or another company. So so important for me, but it's mentoring other people, which is important for me. And one of my mentees, my own daughter, who did her graduation from Carnegie Mellon. And today it's so humbling for me to see that she is already a vice president in a company called Carta, and she's doing really, really well. So I told you, her first company, she joined Applied Predictive Technology. And actually, she never uh, looked back. Or looked away from startup nature, and she still enjoys working for startups. So she, just like a couple of years back, she had offer from Facebook, which she decided to decline, and decided to stay in a smaller company. And she's doing amazingly well, not only grown as vice president, she's probably making more money than me today, but that's my happiness to see. And she's one of, I had a lot of mentees within Oracle, outside Oracle, and she's one of them. And when she tells me that you are my role model, I think I have achieved everything in life. No other recognition is bigger to me than my own daughter telling me that I helped her, and I'm her role model. So that's all I had from me. Thank you so much. Thanks, Purva. Thanks, Srinath, for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your insightful ideas. It was a great experience for us, and I am overwhelmed by your impactful speech and deep thinking. And now I would like to extend my sincere thanks to Professor B.B. Ahuja, Director of COEP, Dr. M.S. Sutavne, Deputy Director of COEP, Dr. P.R. Dhamangaonkar, Associate Dean Student Affairs, Dr. Mrs. Aarti Petkar, Faculty Advisor of MindSpark, for the constant guidance and support. Special thanks to our chief guest, Vinita Paunikar ma'am, for gracing the stage with her presence and inspiring us. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sriram.